So today, hopefully, will be a very useful lecture. I made this PowerPoint, it's 17 slides, oh gosh, about Microsoft Visual Studio Code. Microsoft Visual Studio Code, well, the story is that my son was bugging about using it for a couple of years now, and I finally gave up. And now when I click on any file on my Mac, whether it's a text file, plain text, or Python script, a Jupyter notebook, or JSON, or Bash script, or whatever it is, log file, error file, uh, markdown file, everything opens in Visual Studio Code, and I love it. It's very, very customizable. So as you see, it's coming from Microsoft. It started, first released in 2015. And right now, if you go on GitHub, so it's an open source project, you'll see more than 1,700 contributors. And if you look at the marketplace for extensions for this editor, you'll see more than 30,000 extensions. So, wow. So I don't know how many users, but probably several millions at least. So it became very popular, and rightfully so. And I highly recommend to learn how to use it. It's a little bit of learning curve, but well, it's not difficult. So you see here the code on GitHub. So this is a page. It's very, very customizable. So you see this example of a light theme or dark theme, and there are multiple themes, and some of the extensions are those themes, and they're beautiful, and you can find themes which you really like. It is known for IntelliSense. That means code completion, quick information about the function you're calling, or jump to the code, and so on. So IntelliSense is very good. Run and debug, you can do it right inside the editor. You can remotely connect via SSH to other servers, to multiple servers at the same time, and work remotely. You can use it as a SQL client. You can use it as a Python development environment. And once you learn how to use it, like, you don't need Jupyter Notebook, because you can run Jupyter Notebook right inside the editor with graphics, with debugging, with everything. So it's really amazing tool. So here are some links. It has built-in Git repository, again, very easy to use, and a lot of extensions to help you manage it. Very customizable. It is written in JavaScript and runs on Electron platform. So here is the link, electronjs.org. So these are utilities which allow you to create a runnable app on your desktop or laptop from JavaScript. And there are a lot of tutorials. So this is just some random tutorial from YouTube, but if you just search, you will see so many. One of the reasons for great success of this Microsoft product, I mean, usually I hate Microsoft. I repeat, I hate Microsoft. But this particular product is really good. And what they did, they leveraged the community. They leveraged tens of thousands of developers and millions of users who provide feedback and suggestions. And it's kind of similar to the success of Linux operating system, or Unix first. So you have a central part, like a core, like a kernel and core utilities, and then you have everything else on top of that. So Visual Studio Code is structured the same way. So you have the main editor, and then you have more than 30,000 extensions, and we will look at some of them today. Okay, keyboard shortcuts. Well, if you're working, let's say on Windows, you know, Control-C, Control-V, Control-Z, and so on. Or on Mac, it will be Command C for copy, Command V for paste, and so on. Of course, all these shortcuts work as well, but there are also some other shortcuts which make your editing experience much more pleasant and powerful. And the main one, which you absolutely have to learn, is Command-Shift-P. And what Command-Shift-P does, and all shortcuts I will be giving in Mac notation. So I use Command-Shift-P. On Windows, it will be Control-Shift-P. So just translate in your head if you're using Windows. So when you get Command-Shift-P, it opens this search, and you can type something in this search. For example, let me open the editor. So right now I'm pressing Command Shift P, and I'm typing something. I don't know. Let me type. I see JSON. Let me type JSON, and you see it found several things, right? So for example, I click on Open User Settings, and it opens me something. Well, in this case, it opened the file. In other case, it may be a command which does something. So Command Shift P is your door into a searchable list of different commands and options. Use it all the time, so you need to remember it. Oh, by the way, the shortcuts, here I provide some links for bindings and tips and tricks and how to master some advanced navigation and selection. Okay, and also it's always available in menu in the editor itself. So you go to menu help, keyboard shortcuts, or file preferences, keyboard shortcuts on Windows, or code preference, keyboard shortcuts on macOS. Okay, so Command Shift P, I told you it's a searchable list of commands. Command K, Command R, show keyboard shortcuts. Okay, yet another way. Command N, create a new file. So again, very easy. I just press Command N, and here you are. You see untitled file, and I can do something with it. Okay, let me close those guys. And to close this pane, it's Command B. So it toggles this thing where you can open folder or do something else. So Command B. And Command J opens the terminal, the panel below, and well, you can do something here, or you can exit it. Okay. Command N, open a new file, or open folder. Command Shift N, open a new window. So you can have multiple windows on your desktop. Command KO, you take current file and open it in a separate window. there are so many convenient shortcuts. Like for example, Command D, you can select a word, but if you keep pressing Command D, it will open another word and another word, similar words, and then you can substitute them by something else altogether. Very convenient. I really should not go through all these shortcuts because, well, it's not difficult to learn them. So, yeah, you can work with columnar blocks. You can easily do wrapping or unwrapping. You can easily toggle comments. You can move lines up and down, apply repeated operations, fold unfold code. You can do like change indentations, whatever. So many things you can do, and it's so easy. Okay, talking about extensions, if you go on YouTube, there are many videos where people say, okay, top 10 extensions, or extensions for 21 or for 22, or for working on JavaScript, or for working with Python, or like whatever, or for working with SQL database. Many. Okay, how do I move it here? Okay. So,
I am on a call. What's up?
Somebody mute, please.
Sorry.
Okay, so these are some of the extensions that I use. And if you look, so this is the editor right in the front, and I click on the icon for extensions, and it shows me installed extensions, recommended extensions. So let's say installed, right? And if I want to use install some other extension, let's say it has the word SQL, and whatever. So for example, SQL Server, MS SQL. So I can click on install, or I can click on it, see more information, and then click on install. Do I want to install it? Okay, let's install it. So it is installing it. It's okay, done. It is installed. And what happened when you install it, if you go to your home directory, this is home directory on my computer, and I go, there's a directory called vscode. And similar directory will be on a home directory in Windows. And here there is a directory called extensions. And here are all my extensions, right? So disk usage minus summary in megabytes, this directory. Okay, I have more than 600 megabytes, or closer to 700 megabytes of extensions. And if you connect to a remote server, and you can install then similar extensions on a remote server. Okay, so these are some of the extensions I'm using. Beta line select, Python, Jupyter, so you can work with Python Jupyter right inside the editor. Hex editor, so you can see your file like in binary hexadecimal representation. Remote SSH, very, very useful, use all the time. Save as root. So when you're working remotely, sometimes you want to change files which require root access. You can do it. So there is an extension for that. Rewrap. Well, this is, okay, there are several modules which I use because sometimes I have text which has some dirt in it and I want to clean it and then I want to wrap it for email. Insert hard returns at certain position, things like that. Render line endings. I want to see the endings of files. So if I'm typing something, I don't know if you will see it well, but I actually can see that this is space and this is end of line. And by the way, if I want to change it from a line feed, which is Unix and Mac, I can change it easily to like a Windows notation, and then it shows like a bended arrow. So again, I can easily change it back and so on. Okay, you see it is set for 4 spaces because I use Python and I like it to be set this way. And the type is plain text, which I can easily change to something else, and then it will use syntax highlighting for this language. But if you open file to start with, like for example, if I open a file, I just typed command O, I'm going to directory test vscode, and let's say I open a script here, and you see it's already highlighted beautifully, and you can run it by pressing this, and it gives me error because it doesn't understand this. Okay, because this is Jupyter instruction, it's not pure Python. Okay, so let me save it, Command S, let me run it again, boom, and it shows the picture, nice. But I can do something else. You see, let me close this. You see, I put these comments with percentages in them. And what this does, it splits, oh, by the way, this is IntelliSense, right? It gives you help on functions and stuff. So these comments, they split a Python script into pieces. So I can run them one by one. I can either click on run cell, and then on the right, it will show me the output, right? You see how it's done. Oh, but by the way, here it shows Python, which I'm using, and I can change and I can use different Python. And if I, okay, so this is good Python. If I'm only beginning, then I can press Command Shift P and I can say Python, oh, okay, select interpreter, and then it will give me the list and I'll select the Python which I want. And I can do it separately for this code or for this Jupyter style on the right. Anyway, so here I am on the right and I can restart and I can run the notebook again. If I will expand it, there should be actually options to save and run. This is basically like Jupyter Notebook, right? So let me continue running. So here I did printing, and then I created a small data frame, and then I want to show something, and it shows it on the right, the graph using Matplotlib graphic library. And now I can save it. It asks me where, and I will overwrite this one, and I did. Okay, done. So now I can close this, and you see this dot, it means that it was changed. So I need to press Command S, and this dot disappeared, right? Okay, so let me, I'll go back to the directory. I was in vscode, test vscode, and let's say I open this directory, and I double click on Python notebook, and it will open in VS Code as if it is in the browser. Absolutely, I can run it. This is like a fully functional way to work with Jupyter Notebook. So recently, that's all I do. I don't use browser. I don't start a notebook from the terminal. I just double click on it and off I go working with it. Okay. Remote SSH. Oh, talking about remote SSH. Let me connect. So this is Remote Explorer. This is extension. And I connect to, let's say, this server. So I'm connecting to it, and it opens a separate window. And you see on the right, it's bottom, it shows SSH K1. It's connected to server K1. And so now, let me close this, and I don't need this. For example, no folder open, outline. So let's say I want to open a folder, and okay, this is home, but I think I have a directory there called data bb. Yep, and I go there, it will give me a remote. So I see the folders, and let's say I go into this and this, and I have some toy files here, and I open Python script, which now I can edit and run remotely, whatever. And then I can close this. So it's very easy to work remotely using SSH. Render line endings, material icon themes, multiple themes to show icons next to files. Pylance, IntelliCode, extension for R. So you can work with R inside the editor as you work with Python. Again, prettify JSON, MySQL. So yes, I will show you more screenshots later. So on Mac or Linux, extensions go under home directory in subdirectory .vscode and then extensions. Under Windows, it will be user profile directory .vscode extension, so similar. And you can list extensions by giving one of those commands. So if you want to see versions, you add show versions. So let me, for example, take this and just run it on my computer, and it will show all the extensions which I currently have installed. Okay, so here are more extensions. Oh gosh, there are more than 30,000 extensions altogether. So I watched multiple videos on YouTube, and they mostly repeat the same extensions over and over and over again. So I put a list of most common ones, and I encourage you, if you want to start working with the editor, you can go through the list I provide. So you see related to comments and prettier. Prettier is very good because you're writing your code, and then when you press Command S to save a file, it automatically formats it to look good. Tag renaming. Well, the editor originally was created to work with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So it's very well suited for front-end development. Color brackets, like, you know, when you have brackets inside brackets and inside brackets, it starts coloring them. Actually, you don't need this anymore because this is now part of the standard configuration. But anyway, so again, let me show you. I go my user settings. You see, editor bracket pair colorization enabled, true, and whatever. So brackets will be colorized automatically for you. You don't have to think about it. And so on, so on, so on. So here I have SQL database management, so I can connect to database. I work with the MySQL database currently, but there is also a whole set of tools from Microsoft for Microsoft SQL Server and Azure servers. So great, you can use that. Okay, let me go to the next. Time flies, and I'm only on slide number 5. Okay, so select interpreter. I showed it. You go Command Shift P and you can select interpreter if you have several versions of Python installed. Okay, side-by-side editing. So you can open multiple files, or you can split the same file, or you can have multiple tabs inside the same panel. You can drag. Okay, this is actually interesting how it works. So here, for example, I have a file. So let's say I put something here. So of course I can drag them like this, but I can also do this. Come on. And you see now they're side by side. And I can swap them left, right, and open them in different ways. And if I do, I think it's Command Shift N, it opens another window. So, and then I can take this file, for example, and move it in this window. So it's really intuitive, and it's really like very, very easy to use. Okay, don't save anything. Okay, you can split your layout. You can do it vertically, horizontally. There are so many options how you can lay out your files in the window or between different windows. Command KO, open active file in a new window, right? So here is an example of two windows on the desktop. Command Shift N, open new window. I've done that. Okay, breadcrumbs. So this is your code. This is your tab, and between them you have the path to your file, and it is clickable, and you can use it to select other files, to whatever, you can use it. It's called breadcrumbs, and it's interactive. Find, replace. Command F opens you this search, or you can click on this lens, and you can expand it so you have search and replace. You can use case sensitive, insensitive, or regular expressions. You can replace one at a time, or like all in the file. Very easy to use. Next one. On the bottom here, you have some information like where you are, your line, column, spaces when you press tabs, type of encoding, end of line, Unix or Windows, type checking, syntax highlighting, which Python you use, and so on. So it's actually very functional. Okay, I showed you this, run Python as Jupyter cells using this syntax. For me, it was the last straw after which I decided to start using Visual Studio Code, because for some time I already started using it as a viewer, but after that I started using it to develop and debug Python code. Okay, so you can add this special comment. So it explains how it works. Okay, good. I already covered that. Remote SSH, again, I also covered, but let me tell you a little bit more details about the SSH settings. So under your home, you have .ssh directories, a standard location for your configuration for SSH, your private keys. So you create a config file, and the config file will have entries like this. So this is alias to some server. You can use any name, like crocodile, it doesn't matter. Well, the only exception is with Git. For Git, you have to do, github.com, because otherwise Git will not recognize that it belongs to GitHub. Okay, you have to provide the user, you have to provide the address, whether it's IP address or DNS name, and then you have to give location where the private key is sitting. It's a file. So this is like the minimum configuration of this config file. And once you have it, you can SSH into host by this simple command. Because what SSH will do, it will use this name to go to the config file, find this entry for the my host, and get the user, the address, and the key to connect via SSH. You can also use secure copy, take file from your computer and put it on the my host computer in this directory. Or you can also specify a file name if you want to rename it, or you can copy in the other direction. Very easy to copy between your computer and remote computer. And then once you install the remote SSH and you click on this icon here, you will see all entries in your config file, and then you can connect to them and work with them. Again, very easy. Edit root-owned files. So you install extension which is called save as root in remote SSH, and this is the developer handle. So it adds command save as root, and in order to invoke it, you press F1 or you press Control-Shift-P or Command-Shift-P. That's my favorite command, and then you just start typing save as root, and you will find it and you execute it. You can also bind commands to some key combinations. Well, I didn't do it, but if you like to create your own custom key shortcuts, keyboard shortcuts, you can do that. Okay, another important thing is that the editor is still kind of buggy, and what I've found from experience, when I'm working remotely and I close the session, there may be some stray processes like a Jupyter Notebook, IPy kernel still running on the remote server. And what I did, I wrote a script. It is on my GitHub in this repository. It's called kill stale SSH remote processes. And you can look it up. It's a very simple script. It's just looking for those stale processes, and if they exist, it kills them. Okay, on the remote server. Okay, custom settings. So I already showed you my, actually I have to put more stuff now because I made some changes recently. But when you're pressing Command-Shift-P and you click on this open user setting JSON, you have this file, and you can change it, and it's really easy. So let me show you something. So to remove this panel, it's always Command B, right? So what I want to do, Command-Shift-P, I open my user settings, and you see default light theme. Let me change it to dark, and I save it. Aha! You see how easy it is? And okay, I like light more. But there are so many themes you can use. Okay, SQL. So this is example of me working with MySQL. I have some table called T1, and it has some columns I1, C1, and some integer and string values. And here I do select star from T1. So it's a very simple. So here you have your databases and your tables and whatever. You have this one for MySQL and another one which is more generic, and then you have Microsoft SQL Server Client. Again, very easy to work like that. Next, Markdown. I work with Markdown all the time, and when you're working with Markdown, you're editing the raw file, and you want to see immediately live how it will look. So here I have two windows open side by side, and when I'm typing Markdown, here I see the preview, right? Live preview. And to invoke it, all I have to do is to press Command-Shift-V, and then I see it again. Very easy to use. So this is Markdown file. Okay, next, how you look at differences between files. Again, it's very easy. I have two files, A1 and A2, and here in the middle tab, it shows me two windows side by side, and I can edit the files right here. And when I do that, then this dot shows that I edited this file. Then I'll have to save the file. But again, extremely intuitive, extremely easy to use. So what you do when you have two tabs, you open here, right click on the file and say compare, select for compare or compare with selected, and that's how you get your files, and then you compare them. Also Git, also built in into the editor, right? So here you have Git source control. I will not do it now, but you can easily do git diff, and this is example of a screenshot where you have two versions of the file, and you can easily see what was edited, what was changed. Okay, JSON and wrapping. As I told you, I do a lot of wrapping, auto wrapping, rewrapping, and I use special extensions for that. So here's the description of that. JSON prettifier allows you to make your JSON look good. And another extension allows you to make your JSON foldable. So you can fold and unfold it beautifully, just an example. And the last extension I want to talk about, it's Live Share extension pack. And what it is when you install it, hold on, where is it? Here, this is this extension. What it allows you to do, here example, these two programmers, they're working, and if you look closely, you see they actually have the same code on their screens. And when one of them is typing, another one can see the changes. So it looks exactly, it behaves exactly as like Google Drive, Google Docs, or Google Sheets. When one person edits, another person can see in real time. Same thing. Plus, it gives you text messaging and voice, so you can collaborate very, very effectively. Very good extension coming directly from Microsoft. Oh gosh, I start liking Microsoft. Okay, so this is a very short run, fast about Visual Studio Code. I highly recommend to start using it for your everyday life, for everything. I use it really for everything. Okay, that's it. I will stop recording.